yo, kill the stat. Raw and uncut. We done teamed up. We did.
A podcast for the community, hard as an uppercut with that real news. Upside your headpiece, informing you with that real stuff. With the how, why, who wins and what's a reality, making it clear cut. Truth will set you free, unfiltered and no bluff, no fluff. You kid or rebut, don't be bewildered. Don't agree with the cause, great, you can speak up. Wednesdays at 8, hit the comments up, talk your stuff, set it straight. We learn more from each other in this information age. Institutions will leave you lost and awestruck. So listen up, you'll be compelled. Maybe you'll find yourself stuck on what you thought was real. But them gems I'm dropping on this program may just appeal to your appetite for info. This the intro to reveal. Get your info on YouTube for your feel. From AM to PM, it's popping, so sit back and chill. Nobody doing it like this man on this podcast is for real. It's real, raw, and uncut.
Real, raw, and uncut. Wednesdays at 8 AM.
Yo, welcome to another episode of the Raw Uncut podcast. I'm your host, Rells. Make sure you guys go like and subscribe to YouTube and Twitch pages, 2920 TV. Make sure you go follow the X page, Mr. 2920 _. This week, my guest, trying to get this done for a while. Hopefully we get it done. We got it going right now. Welcome my guest, man, Anton the Bum. What's going on, brother?
Peace, Rells. Thanks for the interview.
Nah, no problem. Anytime, yo. So let's just get into it. So let me know, where are you from, and what got you into hip hop to start off?
I'm from the Lower East Side of Manhattan, and what got me into hip hop was basically just I couldn't not get into it. As soon as I heard it, it struck a chord with me. It resonated to the point where nothing else mattered really to me in my life, even as a little kid. My father, first of all, started me out rhyming before I even heard any kind of music. My father would play rhyming games when I was like 4 years old, and just he would come up with words and he would make me rhyme that word, but string together a sentence to connect them. Basically, he had me putting together bars when I was a little kid, not even realizing they were bars like that. But yeah, so that was already ingrained in me. So then when I started hearing music, and then especially when I started hearing hip hop, and I realized that what we had done when I was a little kid, that those games could be utilized to make songs like that and to connect and use for lyricism in that way, I was hooked right there. And I started like reverse engineering songs and shit. I would take songs like Grand Puba's 360 is one example that I would rewind. This is show my age, that song, and also that I was rewinding tapes. So I recorded the song off the radio. I would rewind it over and over again, catch all the lyrics, write them down, and just study that shit. Like, damn, how do you put that together like that? Kind of reverse engineer it just to figure out. So I did that, when I was very young. So there was something in me that always knew this is what I'm supposed to do.
All right, cool. So, pretty much your father got you into hip hop. That was the big inspiration that pretty much got you into hip hop. But what was some of your inspirations as you were growing up? Like, what artists did you listen to that really made you like fall in love with the essence of hip hop and the lyrics that came with it?
My biggest inspirations, I would say, were like Nas, Big Pun, the whole Wu-Tang, obviously. And then there's people that people don't mention as much. People like Lord Finesse, people like AZ, that I feel like are top tier lyricists, that they were, really a big part of like clicking syllables and putting words together like that. That had a big influence on me. Then of course, you got to mention people like Rakim, Kool G Rap, Big Daddy King. And those guys, even though I was very young when they were like at their top of the game. The artists that influenced me the most after them were all only there because of those artists. So they're really the genesis of everything that I fuck with came from guys like that. So they need to definitely be mentioned.
Oh, okay. So at this point in the music game, what makes your music stand out from somebody else's?
I think it's just because I go into it with no ulterior motive whatsoever, or even thinking about what what the times what people want to hear at these times, or what's going on in the industry already, what's already out. That plays no part in my decision of what I'm going to write about. It's just
Hmm.
really literally whatever's in my heart, whatever I feel like is important to speak on. And I
Hmm.
feel like that's kind of what has been stripped of the from the art form since it got commercialized, since it got corporatized, and geared towards more of a tool of manipulation than a tool to uplift people and kind of fight against the bullshit and the mind fuckery that we've all been inundated with. So I want to bring it back to the essential purpose of it, which is to uplift and not to indoctrinate.
Okay, cool. Um, so when I met you, you were performing at the March Madness event. Um,
Yeah.
how do you pick and choose, like, or not even say pick and choose, but what gives you the confidence to go to these like open mic shows and perform in front of people?
Well, to be honest with you, I'm confident to perform anywhere because what I do a lot is I perform on the trains. So
Hmm.
I go on all the trains in New York City throughout whatever boroughs and just set up shop and just rap in the different train cars, go from car to car. And that's actually what I do for a living at
Hmm.
this point. I don't have another job. That's all what I do pretty much all day, every day. So once you do that, going on a stage where people are actually there to hear music voluntarily,
Hmm.
it's super easy because most of the time I kind of have to force people to hear what I'm doing. And although I get good response to it initially, you know how it is on the train. People don't want to hear that shit at first. They're like, oh, here's another one, because everyone's always coming on with a fucking announcement or something on the train. So
Hmm.
if you can go through that and not be intimidated by the fact that certain people might react at first in a way that, like they're not receptive to it, then you go into a venue where there's people there to hear music, it's easy.
So how did you get into performing on the train to begin with? Because I find that very fascinating. Because like when I first viewed your IG page, I realized that was some of the stuff that you did. What gave
Yeah.
you the inspiration to actually say, like, I'm going to use this as a tool to get my music out there? And like you said, that this is what you do right now as a career and as a
Yeah.
job. So what keeps you motivated, and what is the process when it comes to like doing these train performances?
Well, the reason I even started doing that, honestly, I have a friend of mine I consider him my brother. He's been locked up since what, 2009, and he got sentenced to 25 years.
Hmm.
So there at a certain point there was some things in his case that it looked like there was a chance to either get it overturned or get sentence reduction, because the officer involved in the arrest had a bunch of other stuff come up of corruption and all of that. And at that point, um, he was in need of some legal representation in order to try to make that happen. And in order to get the money
Hmm.
to make that happen, I didn't have a job at the time. I wasn't selling drugs anymore. I had been done with that. And um, I decided to go on the train and just spit bars, but I didn't have a microphone. I didn't have a beat, nothing. I just literally went on the train, told a little bit about my situation, why I'm there doing that, and then just spit bars a cappella, and then started collecting money, whatever I could, in order to try to get him a lawyer. And so from doing that, it
Hmm.
just made me realize that it was a possibility to do that, and I could make money doing that. And especially once I incorporated the speaker so people could hear me better, and have a beat behind me and all of that. Um, then that's what actually sparked it in me to realize that I could do that. And then once I got rolling with that, I actually really like it, because I feel like not only can you reach people at a time when they're not engaged in something else and they're not really distracted, but also I feel like when I give a little bit of my story and why I'm doing it, and my past before I perform, I think it can inspire a lot of people to realize that they could go after whatever it is they want to do, that it's never too late to do that. That's kind of what I
Hmm.
feel like my purpose is to help other people go after their purpose.
Mm. I think it works right now, especially with these crazy times on the train, because normally when people used to be real comfortable on the train, you would probably be able to perform and probably wouldn't pay you no mind. But now with the crazy times going on, it feels like everybody's on alert. So like if you get on the train and start performing, these people are going to pay attention to you because they're already looking at their surroundings and everything around them. So it's more of a trying to get them comfortable to where you don't come off looking crazy, but they can come
Right.
off enjoying the music that they're listening to, even if it's for a couple of stops or, even if it's for maybe a 25-minute train ride or whatever the case may be.
Yeah. I think that does help. I think honestly, they just at first maybe glad I'm not trying to stab them or some shit. Like
Mm-hmm.
they're so used to, like you said, the craziness of the subway system, and then beyond that, um, as like I said, a lot of people initially they're like, "Oh, here we go again," because there's always some crazy shit going on the subway. But
Mm-hmm.
it inspires me when that happens, and I make it my goal to get that person. If I see someone react like that, I make it a point to win them over by the end of the song. And
Mm-hmm.
for the most part, I'm able to do that. Anybody who might act like they don't want to hear it by the end of the song, they're either fucking with it. They might even give me money. One time, this guy literally was laughing at me when I was introducing myself and acting like it was going to be some straight bullshit. And then by the end of the song, he was nodding his head through the song, so I know I won him over. By the end of the song, that same guy gave me $10. So I make it a point to focus on those people. If I see anybody is uncomfortable with it or they're disturbed by it, to win them over. And the content of my music also usually helps with that too, because it's not everyone can kind of relate to usually when I'm the songs that I pick for the train.
Mm-hmm. So, what is when did you know that the train thing was becoming a success? Because like it's real easy to to do it on a train and then be like, yeah, nobody's really fucking with it, so I'm just gonna completely stop. But when did you realize that like this was something that you could do that people were starting to really get behind? You were starting to build some momentum behind it.
Um, it's hard to say exactly when, but basically, so I did the thing I told you first while I'm trying to help my friend get out of jail. That was just a cappella. I didn't really feel super confident. I just knew I could make money doing it. Then
Mm-hmm.
when I had that recollection and I started actually doing it with the speaker and really making it, an attempt to make a career out of that. The first few times I had to build the courage back up. I wasn't used to it. It was, intimidating again because it had been a while since I had done it the a cappella way. And like everything else, is whatever confidence you present, it's gonna affect the reaction you get. You could be spitting the same exact bars, but if you don't spit it like you're the shit, then people aren't gonna respond like you're the shit. If you spit it
Mm-hmm.
like with any kind of timidness or anything like that, people aren't gonna
Mm-hmm.
respond right. So the first few times it wasn't exactly, ideal. It wasn't how I would want it to come out. But I did get enough positive reinforcement that it kept me going. There was people that no matter what, they would be like, yo, you got bars, like you should keep going and trying to encourage me. And it didn't take too long of that for me to be able to approach it with the confidence that would make a lot more people fuck with it. And then I started getting enough encouragement that I couldn't deny it, that I realized like not just verbal encouragement, but financial encouragement as well, that I couldn't
Mm-hmm.
deny at that point that I could make this lucrative. Because that's kind of the thing I feel like with all artists and especially musicians is we know that at a certain point we need to make that our career and make that our way to earn a living. But it's how the fuck you go about that from having a regular job or hustling, whatever it is that you do. How do you segue into actually making money off of it before you really get the traction where you have like a bunch of followers and all of that? And that's the challenge. So when I found that, then I could no longer make that excuse. That was the excuse I used for years, was like, I can't make that lucrative, so I have to sell drugs or I have to get a regular job or whatever it is. And so once that started clicking, I had no more out. I had no more excuse to point to and say, "Oh, this isn't feasible."
Mm-hmm. So if you what was of all the music you've done so far, what was the probably the most personal song for you? The song that when you did it or when you wrote it, when you performed it, you was like, yeah, this is the song that I'm showing my vulnerability, that I'm opening up to someone?
I would say probably the song about my mother, maybe Lucy. There's a song I
Mm-hmm.
have about when my mother died when I was 4 years old. So I
Mm-hmm.
have a song that I wrote about her, which the first verse I wrote it a long time ago, maybe 15 plus years ago. And I was in a way more negative place about my perception on death and all that, and just speaking on kind of the anger side of it. And then
Mm-hmm.
the second verse I wrote more recently from my perspective now, in which I realized the soul is infinite, and that death isn't really what we were told it is, as far as just you just become. I used to think my mom was nothing. She ceased to exist completely. And that was
Mm-hmm.
what fucked me up as a kid. Now that I know what I know about the universe and the way things work, I'm convinced that her energy was never destroyed and that it still exists, and I'm still connected to it. And so the second verse speaks on that. So that's one song that really is from a personal place. Um, there's another song I wrote for some chick that I was bugging out over, but I never put that song out. But that was a song that was like that was opening up as far as vulnerability. I actually sent it to her, but I didn't send it. I didn't like post it or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then the most recent song I put out, I won't say it's like super vulnerable, but it's very personal.
Mm-hmm.
The song The Circus that I just put out recently. Um, it touches on a lot of the stuff that I went through and just my perspective on things. But pretty much all my music is personal, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm. Okay. If you do you have any, like, if you had to pick if you had to pick five artists that you would want to work with in the future, who would those five artists be?
Mm, good question. Nas definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Jadakiss. Uh, let me see, five artists. I'll fuck with J. Cole. I'd like to
Mm-hmm.
work with J. Cole. Um, man, there's so many. It's hard to narrow it down. You know who I'm looking to work with? Actually, Chris Rivers, Big Pun's son.
Big my son, yeah.
Yeah, he's got some crazy bars. I'm looking to work with him. I'm actually working on making that happen. That might happen soon.
Oh, okay,
And
cool, nice.
I have a song with King Los already, but I haven't put it
Oh,
out yet. He's an
okay,
ill
Los
artist.
is nice. Yes, yeah. I listened to Los a long time ago, and he's still his flow is crazy.
Yeah, his syllable game and all that. His bars are crazy. But honestly, there's so many, too many to name. And I look forward to. I actually plan on putting together an entire project with the classic MCs that that influenced me heavily. So like people
Mm-hmm.
like Cool G Rap or whatever, like that older guard of just immaculate lyricists.
Mm-hmm.
Um, oh, Black Thought, boom. You know what? Take off one. No, not to choose anyone in particular. Take off one of the other five I mentioned. Black Thought
Mm-hmm.
gotta be in. I would love to do a song with him. Just
Okay.
basically, I like to challenge myself with people that are just insanely lyrical. Because it just pushes me to go harder and challenge myself in that way. So, but there's
Okay.
too many to name.
Okay. All right. So, what do you? I assume you write all your music too, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. So,
I would never
what do
have
you
that
enjoy? I feel you. I feel you. Trust me. So, what do you enjoy more, writing a song or performing the song?
It's hard to say because writing the song, when I'm really like getting in the zone with it, I'm
Mm-hmm.
getting like downloads and shit. It's like I'm getting it from the universe or whatever. I'm connected to something that's beyond myself.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when it like the material is pure and I'm not trying to like present myself or do any ego type of shit, right? Then
Mm-hmm.
then it's me channeling like something something higher, and that feeling is just dope because I'm writing faster than I can even write. Like my hand can't even move fast enough to get it all out. And
Mm-hmm.
I love that feeling. And then the newness of it. When it's new to me, I like it the best. By the time I record it and I, try to mix it and master it and all that shit, I'm kind of sick of it usually by the end of that, even though it's new to other people. So I really love that when it's fresh to me and I'm kind of like looking at myself like, oh shit, you killed that shit, right? But then, but the performance is a whole different. That's when you get to test it out on other people's and ears, and that there's something dope about that too, just to see their response. Especially being in the train gives me a great opportunity to do that. Is
Mm-hmm.
I look around while I'm performing. I look at everybody. I scan the train the whole time, and that helps to engage with people, but also for me to get a reaction on what lines hit harder. And
Mm-hmm.
usually I'll notice like certain lines really connect in a different way, where you notice people will make a face up, like ooh, or like that helps me to really understand what part of the song connects the most to people. So that's dope too.
Mm.
Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I could choose one or the other. They're both very different, but they're both a beautiful part of it. Is they both keep me going in why I do this.
Okay. So a couple more questions before we close out. One, of all the songs that you have, if you had to tell someone this is you completely, this is you as an artist, listen to this one song that I've made, this would totally describe Anton the Bum. What song would that be?
I don't mean to repeat, but I think I got to go back to the circus right now, just because
Okay.
that's my newest song. It's the one that I fuck with the most at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And I have others that I haven't put out yet that I also feel like that, but I haven't really gotten to kind of get any response from that yet. But I haven't let other people hear it.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that one really describes, because it's a lot of personal stuff about me and my life in there, but it also goes into my views on society and the corruption and politics, and it's a little bit of everything of the
Mm-hmm.
things that kind of formulate why I do this and what I feel important to speak on.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I have songs that are all about my personal struggles, then I have songs that are all about like political shit or um, the state of indoctrination and all of that. And then, you know, other things of different topics. This just kind of ties everything together. So if there was going to be one song that really showcased what I'm about, I would say it's this one right now.
Okay, cool, cool. What is future plans for Anton the Bum? Where do you see your music going within the next 5 years?
Honestly, I see it going worldwide, and I really won't take anything else for an answer. I feel like I said, it's my calling to help other people realize that it's possible to go after their goals and what they feel like is their purpose on earth. And I really know that's what I've been supposed to do my whole life, but I used the distraction of feeling like it wasn't possible or whatever, it wasn't plausible, and I didn't. That comes from society. My father was always encouraging. My father was an artist himself. He understood, and he always encouraged me. But society at large tells you that artistic things aren't really possible to make a living, and it's not realistic and all that type of shit. It's my purpose is to break that paradigm and to help people realize whatever you want to do is never too late. Because I spent so many years pushing it away and bullshitting.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I wrote songs and created, I didn't actually get down to really going after it the way that I am now. So the beautiful thing about me doing what I'm doing in the train and giving a little of my story and then performing for all these people is there's now thousands of people who have seen me in that realm, which is a lot of people will look at it like it's one of the lowest things you could do, like, oh, this poor guy's rhyming on the train for money, right? And they'll look at it
Mm-hmm.
through that lens of thinking it's like, oh, like some sad shit, like feel bad for him or something. They don't realize I feel like the richest man on earth being able to do that. And I also know where it leads, it's going to be that much more powerful when thousands of people could say, "Oh shit, I seen him on the train and he said he was going to do
Mm-hmm.
this, and now he really did this," and it'll make them realize if somebody who was past their prime in the terms of, especially of hip hop or whatever, a lot of people would say it's you got to be 20 years old or whatever, right? So um, if they can see me to actually accomplish this, I feel like that's going to be super inspirational for all those people that see me in that position. And I let them know that when I'm on the train. It's like my part of my goal is that you'll see me in a much better position. Remember me from the train, and it might inspire some of you to go after whatever you've been wanting to do that people try to convince you it's not possible.
Mm.
So I leave them
Yeah,
that quick impression with them, just so when they do see me, that'll click back for them.
yeah, that's the power of positivity in itself, right there.
Sir,
Manifesting to get what you want to get, you have to speak it into existence.
absolutely,
That's right.
absolutely, and have unwavering faith. That's another thing I learned. Is all that
Mm-hmm.
hope shit won't get us anywhere. You got to have unwavering faith. You got to be certain about it, no matter what the material world is showing you at the time. Because the material world is just a reflection of past thoughts and past
Mm-hmm.
perceptions that we had that caused us to be in the physical reality we're in right now. But
Mm-hmm.
what we're thinking now is not going to be reflected right away. That gets reflected in the future. So you can't have a powerful expectation and then not see it right away and then abandon it and say, oh well, I don't see it, it's not working. You have to give it that time because the material world is delayed. So upon when I finally understood that, I was able to break out of the scarcity mentality and realize that the poverty and scarcity and lack mentality that I had all my life was just because I kept perpetuating the reality I was living in, and I wasn't able to fully change my expectations
Mm-hmm.
with unwavering faith, with the firm belief that it's going to change and that I'm going to attain what I want to attain. Now there's no doubt in my mind, and because of that, I'm convinced that there's no other possibility but for that to happen.
Absolutely, a positive man. I listen. I respect it. I love it. It's nothing like being around positivity, having that positive mindset. Because, like I always tell people, positive mind frame brings positive results, and negative mind frame brings negative results. So it's all
Always,
in what you put out there into the atmosphere is what you'll get back.
absolutely, always. And I was the most negative motherfucker on earth, to be honest with you. So I've been on both sides of it, and I can attest to what you just said being 100% true, because I
Hmm.
got the result from being the most negative person on earth. I got that. I got all that back, that feedback from the universe back, and I know what
Oh,
that's about.
okay. So with that being said, before I ask the last question, what changed? What changed you from having that negative mindset to going to more of a positive outlook?
Something just clicked around 2011. Something just clicked with me, right? And I didn't. Before that, I was a drug dealer for many years.
Hmm.
That was what I thought was the best opportunity for me to make money. Um,
Hmm.
and I didn't feel bad about it. I always had the perception of, like, like what most drug dealers say is that they're gonna get it from someone anyway. I wasn't getting
Hmm.
people started on it. They were already using before they came to me. It wasn't like, um, and then at a certain point, I just couldn't feel good about it anymore. I was seeing the destruction I was causing, seeing
Hmm.
people slowly deteriorate, and I had to take ownership. Even if they're gonna get it somewhere, I don't want to play a part. I don't want to be part of that anymore. And when I started thinking like that, um, I started just really like looking at the whole world. It's like, what do I want my influence on this earth to be? My influence, because I never really dealt with my mother's death when I was 4. I
Hmm.
used that as a crutch to just be like, fuck the world, and whatever I do is okay. I earned the right to just be on some bullshit. You know what I mean? That's the way I
Hmm.
that's the way I used it, which is no way to honor her or her life, right? So um once I came to the realization that, like, at a certain point, I am leaving energetically, I am leaving a trail behind on this earth, and what do I want that to be? I don't want it to continue in what I've been doing anymore. And so at that stage, I spent 6 months not selling drugs anymore, right? And I couldn't
Hmm.
really figure out at that point how to move on into another way to make money uh lucratively. And I was in a point of desperation. I had a cousin out of town that kept hitting me up to go do an OT trip, and it was quick, easy money. And I kept saying no. Then at a certain point, the first time in my life, I went up against my actual morality.
Hmm.
Because the other times I had sold drugs, I felt fine about it. So this the first time I went on this trip. I said, this is going to be the last one. I needed a bed and a TV. Now the last thing I want is a TV. At that point, it was important to me. So I said, I'm
Hmm.
going to go one last trip. And I promised myself that would be the last one. And I went. It was a long ass trip, like 11 hours on 2 different buses. I fell asleep on one of the buses. I had like the illest dream that when I got over there, I got bad. And it was so vivid that I woke up. I had this crazy feeling in the pit of my stomach that, like, yo, that shit was real. So real. I went in the bathroom of the bus. I had 50 grams of
Hmm.
coke in my hand, right? And I'm trying to throw it in the toilet, and my hand wouldn't let go because I took this shit on credit. Like I said, I was broke. That's why I was going. And I took it on credit, and I'm saying to myself, how am I going to explain it to the people that gave me this, that I threw it in the fucking toilet? You know what I'm saying? So my hand couldn't let it go. And I went against my intuition, and I decided to still go. I went, got in my cousin's car, boom, surrounded by the DEA, helicopters, all that shit. And so I ended up getting arrested. They must have thought I was bringing a brick or something like that. I only had 50 grams. But so from there, I ended up getting, got locked up over there. I ended up only doing 12 months because I didn't have any priors. And God bless my father, got me a paid lawyer. So I did 12 months. During that 12 months, because I was already in the mindset of wanting to change the trajectory of my life and improve myself, I used that whole 12 months for self-improvement. And I began working on myself physically, mentally, spiritually, all of that to a higher degree than I was able to prior. For example, I did 23 and ones for 6 months, for 6 weeks straight at a certain point when I was in this place where they're assessing you to see where you should get classified and where you get sent. And during that time, I could no longer escape my past uh, and like the things I've been pushing away, like my mother's death. And it was 26 years after the fact, I finally dealt with my mother's death for the first time in the solitary 23 and ones, just having to face myself with no weed, no liquor, no distraction, no TV, no nothing. And going through that, I was able to finally process all that. And I used that experience to grow as much as possible. And then just reinforce my understanding of what I needed to do when I hit the streets again. And since then, I stayed on a positive trajectory for the most part. We all slip up and have ups and downs, but for the most part, I've been able to stay and having an influence on the earth that I could be a lot more proud of than when I was younger.
It's real raw and uncut.
Smell raw and uncut. Wednesdays at 8 a.m.